Hello, my name is Natalia Munoz and I am an occupational therapy student at Kaiser University. Today's video is about comparing and contrasting employee handbooks and their safety procedures. For this assignment, I found Fort Hudson Health System. It's located in New York. This is a nonprofit community-based healthcare system. It has a skilled nursing facility, an adult daycare program, and an independent senior housing. For the employees, when they first start working at these facilities, they will be participating in an in-person orientation. And during this procedure, they're going to discuss all the safety procedures, all the information regarding as to employees' conduct, their responsibilities. They do go into details as to what are the residents' rights. They don't like the staff to abuse in any kind of way of the residents, whether it's verbal, physical, or psychological. They talk about the needs of the elderly. They talk about infection control. What are the procedures for safety to do in case of fire or emergencies? They educate the staff in bloodborne pathogens and what to do under unlawful harassment. However, the employee handbook for Fort Hudson Health System does not have any information in regards to safety procedures. Then we also have the Pride TLC. This center is located in Wisconsin. The Pride TLC is a rehab and assisted living community. It provides 24-hour service to the adults, and just as the Fort Hudson Health System, it educates their staff in residents' respect, employees' conduct. They also have mandatory self-development groups. However, they do go into details in the handbook, and they talk about safety procedures in fire and disaster. They talk about safety rules and employee conduct. One of the things that I noticed was that for the fire and disaster plan, even though the employee does go to a orientation and they talk about into detail of what the plan is, they still specify in the book that each employee needs to understand what is his or her responsibility and what they need to do in case there's a fire or an emergency. They also state that if the employee is to discover a fire, they need to remove the resident or any person that is near the fire. They need to remove them away from the fire. They need to activate the fire alarm system. They need to contain the fire by closing the doors. And then if they can, they need to extinguish the fire. That was one of the things that they had in the employee handbook. They also talk about safety rules. What are the safety rules? Well, again, each employee needs to understand what is his or her responsibility in case of there's an emergency. They also need to understand and locate where are the alarm boxes, the fire extinguishers in case there's a fire, and they know what to do in case there is a fire and they need to use them. If there is any kind of spillage on the floor, that person should clean it, and they should put the wet floor sign so nobody walks on the slippery floor and get hurt. They need to use extreme caution, obviously, when they're cleaning, so nobody gets hurt, nobody falls, and there's another injury. Something very interesting that I did find that I had not seen before was that if the employee is using oxygen with the resident, they need to post a sign that says oxygen in use, and any flammable materials need to be removed from the area before starting the oxygen. They remind the employees that instead of using any object to stand on, they have little ladders or stools that they can use, and it's for safety. They recommend that they don't engage in horseplay. Obviously, as an employee, you need to be respectful and mindful of those around you, and you shouldn't be playing around with your coworkers in that way. They also recommend not to leave a room rushing out because you never know who is in the hallway, and that there's another person and they can get hurt. Very important to keep the rooms for the residents free of clutter to avoid the risk of falls. And then if there is any dangerous condition, they should report it to the supervisor. Another important aspect that I did find in the Pride TLC employee handbook is that they address the employees that need to be responsible of lifting heavy items, but more so those employees that need to interact daily with the residents, and they need to help them with activities of daily living, and they need to lift them up because they're heavy and they can't stand on their own. Those employees will be trained specifically on how to use proper body mechanics and avoid further injuries. That was something very important that I thought it was good to educate employees on lifting and proper body mechanics, because for instance, us as occupational therapists, we need to do a lot of transfers, and we need to educate the CNAs and the staff. So being that the facility also educates every employee in this aspect, I think it's very important. And that's it. I was surprised that the Fort Hudson Health System, even though they do have a mandatory staff development in services, there's nothing in the handbook itself that explains what are the safety procedures. And then Pride TLC was a little bit more detailed into that. I had a little bit of a difficult time finding anything here in Florida, which is where I live. But hopefully, if I do go in person, I will be able to get my hands on the employee handbook and see what they have. Thank you for listening. Have a great day.